The New England Patriots have wrapped up day one of joint practice with the Minnesota Vikings, and from what it sounds like, the New England Patriots offense dominated on the day. Now, take that with a bit of a grain of salt, okay? Obviously, it's only day one of joint practice. The offense did have some struggles, but more specifically, these wide receivers, the passing offense, it cooked in what was considered one of the best defenses in the National Football League in 2024. That and so much more to break down. So make sure you guys leave a big like on the video on your way in. Subscribe to the channel for all your New England Patriots news, thoughts, reactions, breakdowns, all that good stuff. We got watch parties, post-game recaps, winners and losers. This is quite literally your one-stop shop for all the New England Patriots news. Now, I know a lot of Patriots channels out there say that, but guys, we have been doing this for like 10 years now, okay? This quite literally is your one-stop shop for everything involving the New England Patriots. So let's just get into practice, everything that happened. You guys know what we do first. We break down the general notes, and then we get into each and every single position based off the notes that the media gave us. So first off, I want to make that clear. I obviously am not in Minnesota, okay? I'd love to be, but unfortunately I'm not. So these are all professional notes that came from the media themselves that are actually at this joint practice. So starting off here with guys that were either absent from practice or were not participating, Ramondre Stevenson, which it sounds like Mike Vrabel doesn't expect Ramondre Stevenson to practice at all during joint practice. Terrell Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, which when Mike Vrabel was asked who wouldn't be there, he said, obviously Kendrick Bourne. So look, maybe I'm looking into it too much, but it just sounds like Kendrick Bourne is still very much on the outside looking in because that injury is more severe than we thought, which, look, I don't know why Kendrick Bourne, after that in-stadium practice that he got injured in, I really don't understand why he said it was just muscle cramps, if clearly it was something so much more. Now, you also have Jalen Polk out of the mix, Hunter Henry out of the mix, which I will say, Mike Vrabel did also say that we'll keep a close eye on Hunter Henry. He said he wouldn't practice day one, but it wasn't out of the question that Hunter Henry might potentially practice tomorrow for day two. But Elijah Ponder, Jelani Tavai, Marte Mapu, Christian Gonzalez, and DJ James, all the guys that weren't participating, really wish that DJ James was able to participate, go up against some higher competition levels from these wide receivers for Minnesota compared to what we saw in the first preseason game and joint practice with the Washington Commanders. But again, let's see how tomorrow goes before we read into it too much. As for who was limited, Carlton Davis. So still haven't seen Carlton Davis be a full-time participant yet since he got here to New England, more specifically here in summer practices. So hopefully we see that sooner rather than later because time is ticking in. It is officially less than a month, guys. As crazy as that sounds, but it is less than a month till the New England Patriots play their first their first regular season game. So Carlton Davis is going to be a big piece to that. Now, getting here into the quarterbacks, 11 on 11s, Drake May was 16 for 25, and Josh Dobbs was 7 for 13 with 2 interceptions. There were no 7-on-7 drills, just simply 11 on 11s. I find it interesting still that this is the second joint practice that the Patriots have had with a completely different team, and UDFA quarterback Ben Woolridge still isn't getting opportunities. And this is a guy that they played in half of the preseason game week 1 against the Commanders, and he actually looked pretty damn good, was the best quarterback on the field for the Patriots. Would have liked to see him get a couple of reps here and see what he can do, but it's very clear that the Patriots, they are treating their joint practices, whether it's with Washington, whether it's now with Minnesota, they're treating these practices as preparation for the regular season. And Mike Vrabel even said before that, a lot of times you get more of your takeaways from joint practices than you do the preseason game. So if I do assume, I would guess that's why, but still, nonetheless, we're going to see Ben Woolridge in this game. Would have been nice to see him a little bit. But Drake May took 6 sacks today in team periods. Brian Flores, the former New England Patriots linebacker coach and current defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, was playing an aggressive style of defense as usual. May handled things very solidly and bounced back throughout practices despite some tough throws. But overall, when he had time to throw, he was great. Look, I know we're going to freak out. 6 sacks does not sound good, and it most certainly isn't. But again, this is one of the best. This is one of the most aggressive defenses in the entire NFL, with one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. the Minnesota Vikings statistically are up there with the Houston Texans for the best defensive line leading the 2024 season. So we knew it was going to be much more difficult for this O-line. It was going to be a real test. The positive sign is though, despite Drake May taking those sacks and being pressured as much as he was, one, he didn't turn the ball over. And two, when he was protected, he made some really, really spectacular throws, which we have some video of, and we will show those a little bit later on. Now, Joshua Dobbs, his interception was a pick six to Dwight McGlothern. He had overall a pretty tough day. I'm not going to lie. I thought Joshua Dobbs was going to be a lot better as a veteran quarterback that's had so much experience during his time in this league, and he has been wildly disappointing. We knew he was going to be a downgrade from Joe Milton, but I didn't think he was going to be this much of a downgrade. And if he continues to struggle, honestly, if I'm the Patriots, I'm looking league-wide during roster cutdowns to see if maybe there is a better backup quarterback than Josh Dobbs. He was absolutely terrible in the preseason game against the Commanders, has had a tough summer, and so far through one joint practice is struggling big time yet again. Moving on to these running backs, though, TreVeyon Henderson made a really, really good contested catch on a wheel route over Jeff Okudah for a 25-yard gain on a ball from Drake May. Henderson also had a 70-yard touchdown on a wheel route also from Drake May. Now, Shane Watts had a really good-sized run on a draw play. This is a guy that literally was just signed by the Patriots a couple of days ago. He's already making a few plays. Look, at this point, he's just a guy that is here for the remainder of the preseason games. They need guys to be able to play there in the backfield. He's someone that, at this point, he's not fighting for a roster spot, but he's fighting to make the practice squad. Overall, the backs didn't find a ton of plays in the running back room today, but I feel like the running backs, from what we heard, were standing out more specifically in the receiving game, and that was led by TreVeyon Henderson. Now, moving on to the wide receivers, Kyle Williams with a drop today, Demario Douglas with a fumble, but Demario Douglas did bounce back from that because he did have a 25-yard touchdown from Drake May. Kayshon Boutte also hauled in a 30-yard touchdown from Drake May on an off-platform throw to the corner of the end zone. Overall, beautiful touch by Drake May and a beautiful catch by Kayshon Boutte. Matt Collins also scored a 50-yard touchdown on what appeared to be busted coverage from the Minnesota Vikings. We will take a look at that play also. Another really, really good ball from Drake May. Javon Baker had a touchdown on a go ball from Joshua Dobbs. And then on a flea flicker, you had Efton Chisholm get open deep. And by the way, open with ease, but Drake May just barely overthrew him. So again, sounds like maybe still trying to get on the same page. But this was like the first time that we saw Efton Chisholm actually rolling with the first-team offense. Now, from what the media has said, Javon Baker was also rolling with the first-team offense a little bit, so maybe getting an extended look at both those guys, but it does feel good knowing that Efton Chisholm is getting those looks with the first-team offense, because between him and Javon Baker, like, I'm taking Efton Chisholm 10 out of 10 times, and I'm not even double thinking about it. And then Jeremiah Webb also had a nice adjustment on a back shoulder ball, and it didn't say who it was from, but it sounds like it was from Josh Dobbs, because there's no reason Jeremiah Webb should be rolling with Drake May and the first-team offense. Now, the reason that you see that title, and it says that the offense balled out, again, you hear some of those struggles, but you see a 70-yard touchdown, bomb from Drake May to TreVeyon Henderson, a 50-yard touchdown to Matt Collins, a 30-yard touchdown to Kayshon Boutte, a touchdown pass to Javon Baker. There were some struggles, but there were a lot of big plays down the field, and this team capitalizing in, pivotal moments to put 7 points up on the board rather than stalling out. But like I said, there's a lot of plays that we have film of in terms of these wide receivers making catches today. So I do want to get into that. By the way, these videos are all posted on my boy Rob's Instagram account at Patriots7. Make sure you guys go ahead and give him some love. But let's start out here with this play. And this play right here is just, I want to make sure I get this right, but it looks like this is just the ball from Drake May to Kayshon Boutte. And Kayshon Boutte, tight coverage there, working on the sideline, but a beautiful toe-tapping grab. Now, this isn't the touchdown, but again, you just get to see a bit of an extended look at how these wide receivers were looking, and Kayshon Boutte certainly standing out for the Patriots. Then, it looks like this is just a photo. Then here, you have Marcus Jones picking off J.J. McCarthy. So, not an offensive play, but, we'll get into the defense a little bit. That is a play that you guys are going to hear me reference. again, good to see the defense making some plays, especially Marcus Jones, who I do think has had some inconsistencies this offseason. Now, this play is Drake May for the 50-yard touchdown to Matt Collins. As you can see, it was broken coverage, but Matt Collins being able to just read the defense, understand where to be, call for the football, and good recognition by Drake May. Look, was it anything special by Matt Collins? No, but again, it was just that recognition by him to call for the ball, and of course, the recognition by Drake May to actually get the ball to Matt Collins. Now, we do have another play right here, and this is Drake May going deep, and this one is to Pop Douglas. So this is the touchdown that Pop Douglas had, or maybe this isn't the touchdown that Pop Douglas had. This might have just been a big gain that he had. And then you have the Travion Henderson play, okay? Drake May hitting Travion Henderson deep down the field for a 70-yard touchdown. He goes uncovered. The Minnesota Vikings just completely let go of him, for lack of better words, and Drake May finds him. I feel like this is something that we are going to see all season long. Drake May to Travion Henderson, because I don't think the league is putting enough respect on Henderson's speed, nor his receiving upside. We saw what he could do in the kick return, area, but we saw that speed on display, but we didn't necessarily see is that receiving ability. Now that's a part to his game that I don't think the league is taking serious enough. Now, moving on here, I don't think we have any other play. In fact, it looks like we have maybe one more play. Drake May to Travion Henderson. This is another play. So this was another play of Drake May to Travion Henderson, the Patriots rookie second-round running back out of Ohio State. Wasn't the touchdown, but again, you heard me reference earlier that he had another big gain. And this right here, this was that. Working really well through a contested catch there also. I mean, that does not look like a running back, but let's go ahead and let's move on to the rest of the team. Nothing about the tight ends today, but as for the offensive line, Will Campbell went one-on-one in his one-on-one matchups, went up against Jonathan Greenard more specifically, and then Jared Wilson, he was undefeated in his one-on-one matchups today, going 2-0 with wins over Javon Hargrave. Both Will Campbell and Jared Wilson did give up sacks, though, when it came to the group periods, the 11-on-11s. Overall, the Patriots offensive line also had 2 holding penalties in team drills. Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel not happy, okay? Us as Patriots fans, we're going to look at some of these plays, some of these splash plays down the field, and we're going to feel happy. We're going to feel excited about the potential. But Mike Vrabel, on the other hand, it's not good enough for him, okay? The Patriots aren't playing clean enough football for him. He's not happy. He's getting on these players still, whether it's a couple of sacks, whether it's a couple of penalties, it doesn't matter. Those are a couple of sacks and a couple of penalties too much. And I think having a head coach who has that mindset of it always can be better. We always need to be better unless we play a clean, perfect game. I think that can go a long way in holding this team responsible. But moving on here to the defense, sacks today, you had Milton Williams with 1, Harold Landry with 1, Keon White with 1, Calebon Chason with 1, Anthony Jennings with 1, Jeremiah Farms with 1, and Isaiah Aiton also with 1. The Patriots also got to the Minnesota Vikings a lot today, okay? It was not just the New England Patriots applying the pressure. It was this defensive line getting to J.J. McCarthy, okay? And this is a good offensive line for Minnesota. They have some absolute dogs on that O-line. So the fact that the Patriots were able to apply that pressure, I feel like for the first time, really gives Patriots fans insights to what this defensive line can actually do against opposing teams in the NFL. Not just against our own offensive lines, but what they can do against opposing O-lines on any given week. Now, run stuffs today, you had Harold Landry and Kyrie's Tonga. The Patriots pass rush stood out on J.J. McCarthy, like I mentioned, but more specifically, what they struggled with on that defensive line was stopping the run. And I think that's one of the biggest questions that we have left for this team is how are they going to be at stopping the run? Because these linebackers, statistically, even according to PFF, they're good at stopping the run. These corners, these safeties, they're good at stopping the run. But this defensive line, they're not so good at stopping the run. Okay, Anthony Jennings is the best guy you have on that D-line, and he's probably not going to be here next season anyway. This defensive line, their bread and butter is pass rush. It's getting to the quarterback. A lot of these guys have potential at being a liability when it comes to defending the run. Mike Vrabel is really counting on these corners, these safeties, these linebackers to step up and make plays and be the ones to stop ball carriers in the run game. Today, they struggled. So that's definitely something to watch with this defense moving forward. As for the linebackers, you had Christian Ellis with the run stuff. Cornerbacks, like we alluded to earlier, Marcus Jones with that interception on J.J. McCarthy. Kobe Minor, the Mr. Irrelevant himself, had a pass breakup on the day. And then as for the safeties, Kyle Duggar, again, repping with the first team defense. I feel like we need to make its own individual video, but Kyle Duggar is a loser. At the end of Patriots training camp, at the beginning of these joint practices, he's not rolling with the Patriots first team defense anymore. Okay? All of his reps, for the most part, are coming with the second team defense. I tell you guys all the time, football's what have you done for me lately? Not what did you do for me at one time. This regime did not draft him. That was Bill Belichick all the way back in 2020. This is a loaded safety room. Kyle Duggar's making a crap ton of money. The fact that he's not living up to any of these things makes it seem like he is on the outside looking in. And that was a report by Boston Sports Journal's Greg Bedard a couple of weeks ago when he said that Kyle Duggar could be a surprise release or trade candidate by roster cutdown. So again, another storyline to watch. Kyle Duggar, to make things even worse, was also called for defensive pass interference on a play today. And then to wrap us up here with special teams, the rookie kicker in Andy Borgales goes 5 for 6 with a miss from 54 and a long kick of 51 yards. John Parker Romo did not attempt any kicks. We saw this earlier on in training camp where the Patriots gave 1 day to John Parker Romo and 1 day to Andy Borgales because they will have 2 days of joint practice with Minnesota. This is an opposing defense, a team they've never worked against before. I think they're going to give 1 day to Andy Borgales. They're going to give 1 day to John Parker Romo. So stay tuned for tomorrow's recap. We'll see how that storyline continues to develop, but that's exactly what I'm expecting from this team. So that's going to wrap it up from today's video. For me, day one of joint practice with Minnesota, my biggest takeaways is the offensive line certainly struggling against one of the NFL's better D-lines and one of the NFL's better, more aggressive defenses. But the passing game, these wide receivers probably had their most productive day that we have seen from them, not even just this summer, but really the entire offseason. But this is where I kick it off to you guys. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to follow me and subscribe here on YouTube at Patriots Global for all your New England Patriots news, thoughts, reactions, breakdowns. Leave a big thumbs up on the video. Make sure you guys also follow all the other social medias that you are seeing scrolling down right here. TikTok at Patriots Global, Twitter at Patriots Global 2, and on Instagram at patriots.global, okay? A lot of exclusive Patriots and NFL-related content that you aren't getting here on YouTube. But until tomorrow, I appreciate you guys for clicking on today's video to hear me talk about some Patriots news, and go Pats.